Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. If you haven't been here before, if you're a subscriber, thanks. If you would like to hear more, subscribe, like the videos, and I'll keep doing them as long as I feel like it's helping. Today I'm going to talk about a way to cope with divorce and or any relationship any relationship where you've experienced a lot of loss, where you can't stop thinking about that person for whatever reason, it is. But this video is based on bad things, reminders and thoughts of reasons that your separation or divorce is probably for the best. Okay, now I'm just going to go through a list. Some of them are larger than others, but here we go. Number one, holding it in. I was unable to voice my concerns and emotions due to my ex having so many triggers. If you haven't watched my channel before, my ex had bipolar 2, borderline personality disorder, ADHD, else, mania, depression, PTSD. So a lot. And she did have psychosis at certain points during our marriage. She would hear things and see things that weren't there. So, and it's been about 15 years. So she had a lot of triggers. And I really felt like I couldn't do a lot of things or say a lot of things. I constantly had to walk on eggshells, and that's a book, and I'll go over it at some point in one of my other videos. But it makes it really hard to live a life. You're constantly kind of low key stressed, that you can't do anything, or you're afraid you're going to do something wrong that's going to trigger them and literally set them off, and possibly get angry or depressed and possibly suicidal. And that's a rough life to live. So you need to be prepared for that if you're with somebody that has those issues. Number two, turning off her love. That's a rough one, and that's definitely something that I don't think most people can do. I don't necessarily think it's something that normal people do. Uh, Sorry, I don't want to say normal. Non-neurodivergent. I don't know. I don't know the terms, but people that that don't have all these issues that. But with my ex, it always felt like she could get mad at me and just be like gone, like non-existent in a relationship. And it's like, it blows my mind that you could be with somebody for 15 years and get upset because they made a joke that you didn't care for or something. And you could just be like, nope, don't want to talk to you, don't want to be around you, don't want a hug from you, don't want nothing from you. And it's not just that. I get it. People get upset and they're like, leave me alone for a minute. But this could go on for days, and that's rough. Um, and I don't feel like I deserve that. So the next thing on my list, physical intimacy initiation. It was almost always one way, unless my ex was manic, which has its own problems. It was great when she was manic. It was great. That part of it, and it made me feel great about myself. The problem is over years I wasn't understanding that that's not the real her. That is a wild, far end representation of this person, and it's not a person that I'm going to have often. Um, and it comes with its own problems as well when somebody's manic. But when I wasn't feeling wanted, I was sad and disheartened, and just felt like I wasn't loved, because that was kind of one of my love languages is touch and being needed, being wanted. So I'm gonna bring this up a little to help with some sound. Anyway, um, she would always tell me that I needed to get her in the mood, or I needed to get her worked up, or I needed to do this, or I needed to do that. And it kind of, after thinking about it, it kind of made me uncomfortable. It made me feel like like she was telling me I had to coerce her, you know, into wanting intimacy. And that kind of made me uncomfortable and kind of felt like I was kind of being rapey. And that's not, maybe that's a me problem. I don't know. But it kind of made me feel uncomfortable and not fair. That was one of my, like I said, one of my love languages. I felt like I needed to be, I mean, I didn't need to be coerced. I'm a physical person. I would honestly have had sex with my wife 3 times a day, every day, anytime I could. Would have. I have no problem with that. I would do my utmost best. I would never get tired of it. I loved her. I loved her body, no matter what it looked like. Up, down, left, right. Didn't matter. I did whatever. Which is weird to say. We're getting divorced. Anyway, so that made me uncomfortable. I didn't like having to sort of coerce her into that. And I know some women might say, "Well, it's not really coercing. You just got to warm me up." Well, I did that. I tried to started things earlier in the day, but with somebody that has all these issues, it doesn't stick. You know what I mean? Like I could start something earlier in the day, and I could get home and I'd come up, nuzzle behind her or something, and she'd be like, "What are you doing?" Like she totally forgot that I tried to start something earlier in the day. I could do one thing one day and she would love it. I would do it the next day and she would hate it. It's a no-win situation. Okay, so the next thing on my list, I tried to help her. This is over a long period, over the years, to try to find something she enjoyed, hobbies. Um, didn't matter if it was a movie or something like that, but I should have known this. I got with her too early in her life. She didn't have any hobbies really. She would jump on something for a little while. She did knitting for a little while, sewing for a little while. And I know some women feel like, well, that's a chore. I don't want to do that. That's fine. That's fine. But I try to get her to do anything I could possibly get her to do, um, just to get something moving. You know what I mean? I wanted her to be able to have her own life. I needed her to be okay with herself so that I didn't feel like I was in charge of her. I didn't want to do that. And I tried my best to do that myself. I have tons of hobbies. I have games back here, um, Magic, Dungeons and Dragons. I do woodworking, um, gardening. I'll try about anything. I'm an art person. I'm a analytical person. I like doing videos, things like that. So it seemed like she could never lock on to something until she would lock on to watching internet videos, and that's a problem that I'll talk about later. Okay, next thing. Over the years, it was better at other times than others, but we used almost all of our extra disposable income on treating her medical condition, and sometimes other family members, but a lot of times hers was pretty standard stuff between therapy and if she had gone to the hospital that year. If anybody knows anything, a week hospital stay could run anywhere between $6,000 and $20,000. Well, that was 10 to 20% of our income for the year. So no vacations this year, guys. Sorry, kids. Sorry, me. Um, there's lots of things that come along with that, but it was rough and it put a lot of pressure on me. Um, it felt like she still acted like I was holding her back by not letting her spend money when I was trying to save a little bit for retirement and things like that. And because she didn't work most of the time, um, because she couldn't, she would lose her job. She would break down and she didn't lose it. Most of the time she felt that she had to quit just to not kill herself, which is, whew, that's a trip too. And we did that lots of times over the years. And sometimes she did try to kill herself once or twice and went to the hospital, I want to say 4 or 5 times, which is not terrible over 15 years, but over the last year and a half, she tried to commit suicide once and then hospitalized twice. Was out of her job for about 6 weeks just earlier this year. A couple of weeks, well, a couple of months before she's changed her medication, changed both of her psychiatrist and her therapist. And then a couple weeks after that, they changed her medication. And a couple weeks after that, she told me she wanted a divorce. Um, yeah, so read into that what you will. The next thing on my list, her not being able to focus on me during sexual intimacy was really terrible for me. And this is a sign, a lot of times it's ADHD, but it's also in combination with things like depression or anxiety. Um, we could be in the middle of something doing wild stuff for us, wild stuff. And she would just be like, and I'm just like, okay, what's up? Immediately I'm like, what am I doing something wrong, or is this something else? Because obviously if I just need to go to the left a little or something, I can do that. That's not a problem. Um, but she would just be like, well, no, I just thought of something in my head and now I'm upset in the middle of sex or relations, and that's rough. I mean, what do I do with that, and you deal with it, and I put it into my little boxes, like I talked about before. I separate that into, okay, I need to forgive for this, uh, or because it's part of her condition. It's like, you know what I mean? You don't shit on somebody who's got cancer. You don't do that. It's not their fault, you know. But at a certain point, this stuff hurts regardless. You know what I mean? It's rough, and I feel for anybody else who's dealing with something like that. It's very hard to continue down the road where you're not feeling loved. So next thing on my list, all right. I feel like she did things that she didn't want to just so that I would be happy. And this is not a problem. Everybody does this. I get it. I did it a lot. I did it a lot. But knowing that made me feel worse, not happy. And part of that is the intimate stuff. She would start an intimate thing because I had talked about it, wanted to do it earlier, and I could tell immediately she wasn't into it. And that made me sad. And I tried to explain to her, um, I want you to want to do these things with me. I'm not telling you I need you to do this because it's a transaction. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what, if somebody's got these issues like bipolar and BPD, it's like that they can see a lot of things, sadly, in a relationship, even a long-term 15, 20-year relationship, as a transaction. And that, when you start to realize that, and I'm hoping some of you guys or girls that hear this will hear this and understand that this is going to happen. It's a transactional relationship sometimes, not all the time. Everybody's different. People are different, but be prepared for that. And if you're not okay with that, you need to make sure that you either sadly get out of the relationship or work with that person to understand. Next thing, she wouldn't tell me what she wanted, whether that be in physical intimacy or just simple things like dinner, or um, like I found some of her notes that she had written during therapy and stuff that said stuff that she didn't like, and it's like, never told me that. Never told me that you didn't like it. Just tell me and I'll not do it. It was silly stuff. Little picky, little, tiny stuff that wasn't a big deal. But if it's like, oh, if you don't like that, just say it. It's okay. I'm not gonna fight about something silly like, I don't know, doing a hand sign or something that you don't like. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter. But it was weird. Um, and I couldn't get much out of her on future plans, and that goes to this next one on my list. She told me multiple times when I was talking about retirement in about 20 years, she says, "Honey, I don't plan on being around in 20 years." And I'm just like, that blows my fucking mind. What am I supposed to say to that? You know? I mean, honestly, what do you say when somebody thinks I'll probably have killed myself by then? Fuck off, right? Like, what, you fucking don't matter, or I'm just not gonna, at some point I'm not gonna make it. And I had to explain to my freaking kids that your mom is probably going to commit suicide at some point, and we have to be prepared for that. That's fucked up. How do you explain that to your kids? I I explained it to the 20-year-old. I have not explained it to my youngest one, and he's going to have to figure it out. But he's getting old enough and smart enough that he's going to figure it out soon. And it's messed up. And then on top of that, she was basically leaving me to sit there and wait until she did it. Like, do I plan for that? Do I refuse to plan for that? How do I handle that? I don't know. So then I bring it up in therapy a few months back. This is a couple of months before she left. I said, I need to to know that if you continue to keep trying to kill yourself, that we're going to have to talk about the future, about us in the future. And the therapist, and she started crying. My ex started crying immediately. And the therapist says, now, X, hold on. I know what you heard was when stuff gets hard, he's going to leave me. That's not what he meant. And I'm going to explain to you what he meant. And I'm just sitting here going, uh-huh, uh-huh. And she said, what Dave needs to know is that you are handling your support structure, your therapy, your medications, your all that stuff, so that this doesn't continue to happen, because it's a lot of stress on somebody. If anybody's ever been in that situation, in this situation, to have somebody that you think is fine one day and then could literally write you a note the next day that says, I can't do this anymore, I'm out. It's rough. So next thing on my list, okay. She put me in charge of her emotions. And this is something I didn't realize till afterwards. It's almost like an emotional blackmail situation. She would basically put things on me, her bad emotions on. It was my fault, or not my fault necessarily, but it was like I should be able to help her with them. And these are things that with somebody with BPD and bipolar stuff, it's like you can't fix it. And that's what I wanted to say to her when she left this time. It's like, it's not me that's stopping you from being happy. It's you from stopping you from being happy. She's acting like she's happy now, but the people that really know her, that have seen her recently in the last month, they know she's acting fake happy. She's doing things that she hadn't done before, because she always told me she didn't want to do those things. Now she's with some new guy immediately, and she's doing things that I know she doesn't want to do. I've been with her for 20 years. I know she doesn't want to do those things. She needs attention. She needs validation. So it is what it is. But leaving me is not going to cure the situation. She'll be happy for a while. She'll fake happiness. She may be happy for a while. The problem is, at this point, as I go through this list and remind myself of this list, it's more and more likely that I wouldn't take her back anyway. If you can jump on somebody, if you can do the monkey branching thing, monkey climbing, monkey branching, whatever. Anyway, the next thing on my list, it's my fault that I accepted her and all her flaws. And I know that's something you're supposed to do in love, but let me keep going here. As someone who would always be there for her and would always be there for me and take care of me, I should have realized that she didn't have the capabilities to do that. And sometimes you don't know that for years. But I will implore you people that find out that your significant other has these conditions, or any one of them, or two of them, or my situation is pretty powerful because there's a lot of them. But you better figure it out real early, because the longer you go, the harder it's going to be to walk away, if you have to. And chances are they will walk away. I said that in one of my other videos recently about the bipolar and BPD, especially with BPD. They'll it's like a walk away syndrome, I think, or something. Walk away, runaway wife syndrome, something like that. Anyway, next thing on my list, nothing will ever balance the scales of what I put into our relationship over the years and what she was able to put into the relationship. Some of it by choice, some of it not by choice on her part. She may never even understand everything that I did and everything that I gave up, because I did things that I never even told her about. Why? Because I didn't do it for accolades. I didn't do it to gain something from it. I did it because I loved my wife. I didn't need to be, you know what I mean? I didn't cheat. I didn't do anything that was bad at all. I never raised a hand, nothing like that. So there's nothing that I can do to ever make that even. And it's not going to matter what happens from now on out, because it's never ever going to be the same, and it's not possible for it to be the same. I'm not just tooting my own horn here. There's just a lot that happened, and I'm not going to go into every bit of it. I may go over some little bits here and there in videos over time, but eventually I'm going to get this channel to go to stuff that I'm doing for myself and not about my ex. But right now I'm still in the coping mechanism stage, so I'm doing these kind of therapeutic things online for everybody. Next thing, I attached my value to the idea that I was helping and supporting her. This kind of goes to the last one again. I actually have a lot of value in myself. I felt like I was a good guy because I was sticking around. You know what I mean? And that kind of made me feel good about myself. But that doesn't make them feel any different about you. It doesn't. So I'm now on my own, finding that value in myself again. I've lost, I don't know, like 35 pounds. I'm feeling better about myself. I'm doing things that I hadn't done before. I'm going out on my own and feeling okay with it. Realizing that I don't have to fear being alone, you know. Okay, the next thing on the list. This is a big one, and a lot of people, it's a 100% shut them down. Infidelity. Doing something like that in my head is just, it should be unforgivable. And then if they come back to you and blame you for them, well, you did this to me, so I felt like I needed to do that. No. If they're willing to do that to you, they're always willing to do that to you. I dealt with it, I think, that I know of at least 3 times. And I don't mean 3 single times. I mean 3 affairs that happened. Possibly another one on this last one. I don't know, because like I said, she started moving in with this guy literally a couple of days after she told me she was divorced. Which, if anybody knows anything, there's something going on. Sorry, it's getting a little darker in here. My lights are dying. They're battery powered, but that's okay. It's just a little dark. Anyway, yeah, infidelity. That you can only allow for the mental issues so many times before it doesn't matter. They're still there, you know. Um, she went out when we were divorced the first time, got pregnant, and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, the next thing, digital reality. In the last few years, she started immersing herself in online videos. This is a huge problem recently. I've been listening to people online talking about it. They watch these internet videos of people talking about their opinions or these fake relationships that they see online about life and marriage and what kind of parties are out there, what things are possible. Well, that's barely possible. That doesn't mean that those people don't go home and have a shit life in real life. So, but she was putting these fake things onto me, these fake, like I was responsible for me to provide these things that weren't possible. I even heard through the grapevine that she had talked to her therapist, and her therapist said that well, it sounds like you're sabotaging your marriage. And apparently her answer was just, yeah, which is pretty fucked up. I'll leave that at that. There's no perfect life. Look up the 80-20 rule or the 90-10 rule. If you can get somebody that you're 80% happy with, that's amazing. In this world, that is amazing. Stick with them. Stick with a person like that, unless they do something terrible to you. All right, here's my last thing, and then I'll stop this video. It's already long. For nearly 20 years, with zero reasoning, zero good, solid reasoning whatsoever. There may be one, but it's not a real reason. It's an in her head reason that she still couldn't feel like I was there for her, like I would always be there. I never left her. I never cheated on her. I never even looked at other women. Every time I talked about being around other women, I had to quantify it with, well, she's chubby or she's crazy or she's, you know what I mean? I had to make my ex feel that it was okay that I was around this other person. And I don't mean like hanging out with them at a bar or something. I mean like somebody I worked with or something, like just acquaintances. She could never feel safe with me, and that was tough. It took her years and years to tell me things that she wanted to do in the bedroom that might have been a little risque, and that was wild that she was bringing up new stuff. 15 years into our relationship, what? And it was cool. There was some cool stuff. We had a lot of fun, but when it could go fun to suicide the next day, it's like, wow, how? We just had an amazing last week. We had sex 5, 6 times last week. We did stuff we'd never done before. We went out on a couple of dates last week. We laughed, and then the next 2 days later, it's I don't want to live anymore. Wow, and I don't know what to say about that. But like I said, she always felt like I was going to leave her, and I never did. She was the one that always did it, and that's a problem with bipolar and BPD. So be prepared for that. It is very light. Watch one of my shorter videos. Well, not shorter, but my last long video was about that, and I explain a lot of that. So there's absolutely nothing that you can do to stop those situations. They will 100% feel like you are going to leave them. That is the number one symptom and the number one trigger of borderline personality disorder. So you better be prepared for that. Anyway, this has gotten long. Most people aren't going to watch this long. If you want to hear more about this, if you want to list some of the things that happened to you, some of the things in your marriage or previous marriage that you feel like things that happened that were that you should have known, things that you should have that you've listed after the fact. And if you haven't done that and you're in the middle of a divorce or even year after, if you're still feeling things, list these reasons out, because it helps me every time I look through them, and it sucks. And sometimes I'll find new ones, but it helps. It's therapy. It reminds you that you weren't 100% happy in that relationship, and there was stuff that was damaging you mentally. This stuff was draining me mentally. A lot of it was. And like I said, there's probably going to be more on the list after I get to it. So I'm going to end this video now. Appreciate everybody listening. Hope we get more subscribers to this. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to start doing more of the short ones, because that seems to be what people like to watch. I'll try to focus better on them. Maybe some of the stuff in this list and things. So everybody have a good day. Things are going to get better. It could take months or years, but things will get better. You do you.